Hello, beloved. Welcome to my first episode in this Dharma series. I want to first kind of burn some Palo Santo just to clear the energy in the space. Down to the very last bit. So today I want to talk about when you're feeling guilty. Recently, there's a very dear friend of mine that has been out of the work kind of force for a while, and she recently started a new job. And the job, obviously, we hope and wish that like our jobs always will bring us more peace. And so recently, my friend started a new job, and practically right at the very beginning of starting the job and being onboarded, she immediately started feeling not good about it. She just did not feel like it aligned with the type of environment she wanted to work in. And she had an incredibly toxic manager and wanted like everything. As soon as I started talking to her about her new job, she just it sounded like it was just a negative experience and not what she had anticipated. And I've been in that situation a lot as well. And what was interesting is that both her and I are children of immigrants. We're both first generation children of immigrants. And what we tend to do when we're unhappy in a job is that, like, you know what, it's just the beginning. Let me quiet that voice that's telling me to run and stay there longer and keep trying, see, like, it'll get better. Like, maybe I'll just give it some time. Maybe it's just the beginning. But I think deep down, we all always know that that inner voice, whether you call it the inner voice or your intuition, that gut feeling is always telling us the truth. It is like our internal barometer, and it's telling us when something is out of alignment or in alignment with who we are and with our like highest self. And her and I were talking a lot about this issue, and I tried really hard not to give any advice because I think in friendship it's really important to just hold space for people, and I'm starting to really practice kind of being aware of when I'm giving unsolicited advice in situations. But I just felt so strongly that we were kind of in this vicious cycle of ignoring that voice and constantly putting other people's needs and priorities before our own. And something I said she had shared with me recently had resonated with her, and I wanted to share it with you. I told her that when we have the privilege of having more privilege than our parents have had, we are allowed to make more privileged decisions. So a lot of the things that I talk to her about is about being a child of an immigrant and feeling this overwhelming sense of guilt and debt to our parents for coming to this country and sacrificing so much for us. And some parents, my parents in particular, have always reminded me, my mother's always reminded me of like what she's done for my sister and myself. And I hold that guilt with me everywhere I go, whether, you know, it's going, like when I was growing up, going to school, in college, and then it carried all the way through to my professional career outside of school. And that guilt has always eaten up at me when I was at a job that I was really unhappy with. I would stay there much longer than I really wanted to because I felt I had those images of my parents suffering and going through so much, and they stayed at jobs just to survive because they were running on fumes, because they were in survival mode. And fortunately, my sister and myself coming to this country, because of my parents' sacrifice and hard work, we were given more privilege than their generation. But I think that there's so much unlearning that has to happen when you're our generation and you're constantly feeling guilt of having to pay a debt to be happy, or having to suffer to feel joy. And I think that we have to also acknowledge we do have a little bit more privilege. If you happen to be lucky, you have more privilege than your previous generation. So why not make more privileged decisions? As soon as you feel that something is out of alignment and you have the means to take a different route, take a different option, why don't we take that privileged decision with us? I think when you're a person of color and minority and cards are always stacked against you, we sometimes don't allow ourselves to access that privilege that we do have in choice and in options. And I was really happy that she was able to see that sooner rather than later and decided to leave that job. And I myself have experienced that so many times, specifically in my career, of staying longer than I wanted to because I felt like I owed the team or my manager or the hiring person a debt because they gave me a means for me to take care of myself. That paycheck was the means for me to survive and to pay my rent and pay for groceries. And so I would just stay for months and months longer when I knew I should have left earlier. And so all that to say, I feel like if you can acknowledge the small privileges or the great privileges that you have in your life, try to think about the choices that you're making. Are you making those choices out of guilt, or are you making them out of privilege? And it's not about saying something is right or wrong. Sometimes we do have to sacrifice. Sometimes we have to put others, depending on what your priorities are, others ahead of us in certain moments. But I think the more and more we're just aware and able to notice our options and notice which options we tend to gravitate towards, it will really help kind of bring us a little bit more ease in our future decisions. And when big life decisions come up, we can always tune in and make those decisions faster, and in turn hopefully save time, which is the most valuable currency that we have in our lives. So thank you so much for tuning in with me. I'll see you in the next episode. Namaste.